Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey podcast, the podcast where finally we're all back together again. Charlie, my brother, and Dan, our good friend, for the well, I've messed up the intro there, but we talk about the English ice hockey, specifically the National League, and there is quite a lot of sign-ins. I don't know if we'll have an interview in this episode, but there's plenty of sign-ins to talk about for the next 40 minutes to an hour. So we're going to go through all of them. First of all, Stanley Cup final.
Yeah.
The Oilers could not get it done. The Florida Panthers are too good. They are too good. It has to be said. Before we get to Charlie, Dan, gutted. A Canadian team couldn't get it home.
Yeah, I mean, I was rooting for the Oilers just for that reason. I didn't stay up for many of the games, to be fair. Sort of the 1 o'clock starts and all that were a bit of a killer when you got work in the morning. It's not your team, but sounded like it was a pretty good series. But hopefully a Canadian team can win it next year.
Yeah,
Not
it was
Florida again.
it was gutting. We stayed up for all of them, Charlie. And to be fair, you weren't much of a dick. Otherwise, I would have probably hit you in the face. Um, but we watched them, and Florida, they are just too good. Their depth is crazy, and the Oilers, you can't rely on McDavid and Draisaitl, and yeah, they just got it done, Charlie.
Yeah, Florida are a wagon. They play hockey the way it should be played. They're just a proper team, like from top to bottom. They got three lines of just absolute wagon. Their third line can be a top line, and then they've got D, which can shut down anyone, including Connor McDavid. So yeah, it's mental. That team's mental, but you do look at a team like that, and you just, even in the National League, you understand the importance of having depth and having a core. And the better the National League will get, the harder it'll be for players to come in and single-handedly take on the league. And
Yeah.
you see that in that series with Florida, they're just such a team. So yeah, it was a good Stanley Cup apart from Avs getting done by Rantanen. I was pretty happy with the end result, to be fair. And Florida know how to party. I thought Brad Marchand has become a bit of an icon.
Yeah, but we'll move on because, well, we wouldn't move on if the Oilers won, but we'll move on. The first little bit of news we've got is Charlie Thompson is moving on. He has gone to the Blackburn Hawks after spending 10 years at Sheffield, which is just crazy. Chazza, as they like to call him, he's been a good big servant for them. He's been with them. He's part of that Sheffield family, and he's going to be moving on, Dan. But he did his role, didn't he? He did his role.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way that Sheffield are going, I think it was sort of a mutual agreement. I think Charlie Thompson sort of found his time where it's time for him to move on. What he's obviously getting on in his career now, so he probably wanted to play in a role that he can sort of have a bit more impact on, and so obviously, which is why I think he might have moved down a league.
Mm.
But I think both parties is a smart move. Obviously, Thompson can sort of still play his game that he wants to play, and I think Sheffield are going to be going in sort of a different direction. So I think it works out for both sides of the deal.
Yeah, I want to see what he does in that league below. I think he'll be pretty decent point scorer. He'll probably have a couple fights as well. So good luck to Charlie Thompson. I'm sure we always say we'll get him on the podcast. We just can't find a time to get him on. So we will get. I don't think he has. We've spoke about it. No, he hasn't.
No,
Nah, he's not been on.
did it
He
in his
has.
kitchen.
Huh?
He was filming in his kitchen. He had a new dog. I remember.
Did we?
Yeah, Charlie
I
Thompson.
don't think so.
I don't
I
think we
don't remember
have.
that.
No, you can search it up, Charlie. But we'll move on to the next player, which is
Sheffield
Sam
players aren't
Smith.
allowed on anyway, are they?
Um, that wasn't him. That was Will Stead. Will Stead with his dog. I'm pretty sure. L knowledge from Charlie. I don't think we have had Thompson on. Oh no, we might have had him on. I'm
Definitely.
No,
not sure.
You haven't had him on.
We might have interviewed him, but I'm not sure if we posted it. Anyways, we're
Talent selected
currently
at the top. Charlie Thompson. Yeah, thank you very much.
okay. We did have him on. That was in our first year. So we have had him on. We might
Love
be able to
Charlie.
get him
Chaz is
back.
a great guy. I like Chaz.
Sam Smith re-signed with the Bristol Pitbulls. And yeah, he's your typical third pair in D, I think you can say. I think he had to step into a bigger role last year with the injuries which Bristol had. But yeah, I don't think he was going to go anywhere, Charlie.
Yeah, I like Sam Smith as a third pair. I think he's taken a couple steps forward in the last couple of years for Bristol. Could potentially see him playing a top six role depending on what D they sign. And I think he's a decent little player, and he's a localish lad. I think he's Cardiff. And yeah, I think it's a good little signing for them.
Yep, on to another D man. Bailey Perry is back. And I love this because last year we were talking about Leeds and Bailey took on that two-way with the Leeds Knights 2 and the main, obviously, Leeds Knights. And Bailey Perry was, I think, 19 at the time. And we were saying, oh, why is he kind of playing with the twos? But actually it worked out really well for him. He fought his way back in the team, kind of got the spot off Fugalistan, and he became a regular starter then for the rest of the season. And I love that. And he's obviously re-signed this season, full-time Leeds Knights 1, and he's going to be a big role for them next season.
Yeah, I think what he did last year is sort of gives a lot of hope to the young players as well. Sort of that are fighting for a role. It just shows that you can actually do it as long as you sort of put everything into it and really go for it.
Yeah.
He's obviously still young. He had some great moments that I saw when I watched like the Leeds MK games. Obviously, the biggest like stage of obviously the league is MK versus Leeds last season, and he made some really nice plays, and obviously he's going to be wanting to grow on that now. He's got a full-time contract back in Leeds, and obviously he's going to be looking to try and build his role even more. He's not afraid to drop the gloves. Obviously, I know people chirp him online for obviously for not fighting very well, but at the end of the day, he's still dropping the gloves at a young age, and it doesn't matter if you win or lose. So he's obviously a guy that's got heart. He's a guy that loves playing for Leeds, and they're the players that you want. I'd take a team full of them players over a team full of superstars any day, I think.
Yeah, I think someone said to me as well, he just blocks shots for fun. It doesn't matter. He almost loves just throwing himself in front of a puck. I think it was Ollie Endicott who said that to us. He'll just throw himself in front of a puck. He didn't care. He gets the thrill from that, and that's what you want from D-man like him, Hodgkinson, Neil Lydia did it back in the day. So yeah, he's back. And then one which I think everyone saw coming, Charlie. Patrick Forsberg. We'll come to Dan in a sec for it because I know he watched a lot of him last season. But he had a really big statement kind of half a season with Milton Keynes. Got a point per game, 26 points in 26 games. He did get quite a lot of penalty minutes, actually. I think he actually overtook Spadafor in that penalty role, getting a few more penalties than Spadafor. And then Spadafor didn't really get any penalties. But they signed him to be that point scoring D man, that big physical D man, and he's got a cannon of a shot as well. And I know he not proved you wrong, but you were like, oh, I wonder what he's going to be like because he didn't play in your typical U Sports. He didn't play in your typical NCAA. He come from Europe, and I thought he was really good, Charlie.
Yeah, I think he was good. I liked him, and I'm interested to see what he'll be like for the full season. We can really kind of find out what type of player he is, but he had a good Coventry weekend. And I think he's kind of that top paired, top PPD man for MK. And I think he's going to play a big role for them this year. I think it's good they have him from the start. I think he is one of the top D men in the league. I still wouldn't call him the best. I'd call
Yeah.
Ryan Wells that if he stays, but I'd say Ryan was the best last year. But I think MK have got themselves a really good D, and I think that's what they were missing for the first half of last year. And I think in the second half they managed to get that in Forsberg. So I think it's a good signing, and I think be interesting to see what he's like a full year. Like you said, then penalty minutes, how bad can they be, or will they get better? And then also, he probably could get more than a point a game. We don't actually know where his cap is. So he could be, there's elements of his game where I'm like, ooh, that could really set a light, and elements where I go, ooh, what's he going to do there? So it's going to be interesting to see him for a full year.
Yeah, he did have that. He did get baited into that fight, didn't he, with Holly Endicott in that game against Leeds, and I thought, oh no, they are MK falling in that trap. But from there on, actually, they were very disciplined. And I think maybe learnt his lesson. But again, Dan, he played 26 games in a league which he's never played in before. It is a weird league, the National League, isn't it? And he probably come in and thought, oh, I'm like it's easier to score a lot of points here. I know I've got a really good shot. I'm gonna start shooting more, and that's kind of what he did. And yeah, he's definitely someone who's gonna be aiming for that point a game as a D man next season.
Yeah, I mean, the signing of Forsberg, I thought really changed sort of MK's season because obviously he really sort of their D finally got that. They actually got their set D lines from signing him. Obviously, you had him there. Spadafor calmed down a little bit. You had a bit of a pairing of Spadafor and Forsberg when obviously Spadafor was playing, and then you obviously had the Brits that were linking up well as well. So I think the signing of Forsberg really sort of made that D course solid. And I think you talk about obviously his shot. He came in, obviously, Wallace was saying about his shot on the power play is going to be a big attribute on the power play. And so I think going into next season, he's going to be, he was sort of on and off that PP1 quarterback in the power play when he came into
Yeah.
MK last season. So I think going into the new season, Wallace knows exactly what he's got in Forsberg. He's going to be starting him off on the PP1. Forsberg knows exactly what to do in this league now. He should be used to it by now, so he's going to be able to sort of, I don't know, as a D man, maybe you're a bit too careful sometimes. Maybe Forsberg can now start taking a few more risks in his play because he knows he can do it. And I think I agree. We'll see a few more points from Forsberg this year.
Yeah, he actually did make a really good pairing with Spadafor. They are both imports, so you expect them to. Those are what you bring him in for. But he did create a good little partnership, so it'll be interesting to see if Spadafor comes back, obviously getting that extra import slot. But yeah, Patrick Forsberg, the what do they call him? The formidable Finn, is what they call him. So
He
he's
also
back.
seemed to love it in MK, which
Yeah,
is
he did.
obviously a good thing as well. Like he came straight in, he seemed to fit straight
Oh,
into the locker room. The fans loved him straight away, and he loved the fans. So I think a player like that is a no-brainer for them if they get the opportunity to go back to a team like MK.
oh, exactly. That's why you see quite a lot of them re-sign. The Phantoms re-signed Joe Gretton. Charlie, he's your guy. He's not going to be on your top lines, unfortunately. Sorry, Joe, but he is so important to the team because he'll protect anyone on his line. He's one of the, if you want to say, hardest players in the league. He will drop the gloves with anyone. He'll chirp anyone. He'll chirp fans. He'll do all of that, and you need that sort of gritty player in your team. And yeah, even though there's been a change of coach, you still sign a player like Joe Gretton.
I'd take a Joe Gretton over many, many, many players in this league because he's a team guy. And he'll do anything for the badge. And I think he's a brilliant player in the dressing room. And I think people underestimate the value of a player like Joe Gretton. Is he going to do worldy things on the ice? Is he going to make mistakes every now and again? Yeah, he will. But he's so crucial to keeping it relaxed, chilled in that dressing room. And also, he'll step up when needed. He fought Ross Venus this year exactly when needed. And he'll step up. He'll be a tough guy. And even in playoffs, I always remember seeing Joe Gretton just jumping in front of pucks and hitting people and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's an underrated re-signing. Of course, we know he's going to go back there, but he's going to be a guy who's going to tell tape. I'll keep the dressing room in contact. I've got this sorted. You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, he's a great. I reckon he's a guy who keeps the kind of dressing room loose as well, so they're not nervous going into a game. He'll be cracking jokes. Right, a big loss for Milton Keynes. I had him. I know you guys, Charlie was TJ Anderson, but I had him as the young player of the season last season. He had a phenomenal season and he's earned an elite league spot, Dan, with the Coventry Blaze, which I think is a decent little move for him. Obviously, Brindley Caps has gone, he's still young and he's gone over to America to get some ice time and some experience there. But you've got a Max Stewart, Dan, who's just come off a playoff winning season, and for us, a young player of the season, that's a massive loss for MK. But this is what we want in those youngsters. We want them to take that progression, and yeah, Max Stewart's doing that, and I respect him for that as well.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, including myself, had him linked obviously to go back to Belfast.
Yeah,
Obviously busy. That's where he sort of came through and stuff like that. But I think Max Stewart, like you said, that year that he just had, and you look at what Belfast are building, I don't think it's the right time for Max Stewart to go over to Belfast now.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be going into that Belfast team, and I don't think he'll get the ice time that he deserves from that season. So I think this is smart from Mac. Obviously, I don't know. He probably might not even got offered Belfast, but he's obviously taken the chance to obviously go to Coventry, a team that is known for producing Brits. Obviously, you had Hopkins go there from MK as well,
Hazeldine.
and yeah, and Hazeldine as well, and he's stayed, and obviously he's really grown in Coventry. So this is smart from Mac to go in there and sort of recognise what's been going on in Coventry, and I think if he wants to grow his game and really grow himself into an elite league player, I think a perfect place for him to start is Coventry. And then if he gets that opportunity to go to Belfast in a few years' time, I'm sure he's going to take it. But for now, I think this is a really good move for him.
Yeah, I think he should get some minutes. Hopkins, he had to start on that fourth line. He's grown up and now he's a consistent third liner and he's even played in the top six sometimes. And then Archie Hazeldine, he's getting 12, 13 minutes a night, sometimes close to 20 minutes. So, yeah, I think it's a really good move for Max Stewart. I wish him all the best. I think he was so, so good for Milton Keynes last year. The improvement he made, Charlie, from the season before was so so big, wasn't it? You could tell that he really worked hard and knew that he had to step it up this season for MK.
Yeah, that's why you can never really write off youngsters or not write them off, but underestimate how big of being in a top six role and confidence can be for a player. And Max Stewart, he's always had the talent, and last year he got given that opportunity to play in the top six with the likes of County, Venus, and them players, and he took it. And I'm glad he's gone up to the elite league because I think he does play a play style
Yeah.
which can suit an elite league team. He's got to get given opportunity, but I think he can do the pretty side of the game, but he can do the nitty gritty side of the game. So I wish him the best of luck in Coventry, and it's another Brit loss for MK, and I'm never gonna complain about that. So
It means there's another one who won't have to score against us because I
yeah,
remember
exactly. Max
last
Stewart
year,
always scored against
Max
us.
Stewart tipped it in, did the whole arch celebration while Spanifold beating someone up in the corner. I still laugh at that clip to this day. But yeah, on to someone who has left, and this is a big departure. John Dunbar has left. No more raising the bar at Solway Sharks, as Charlie always used to say. But he has left the Solway Sharks to pursue other opportunities. Is that another team in the National League? We'll get to my tweet in a minute. But as for that is a big loss. That is a very big loss for Solway. Dan, he for me was their best player. I know Gardner scored a lot of goals, but it all came through John Dunbar. So skilled. Obviously, he's played in the Elite League for years as well. He'll pick up assists for fun. He can chip in with goals. Loves the celly as well. It is a big loss for Solway, and we'll get to it in a second. I'll get to it in a second with Charlie, but yeah, it's a massive loss for them and big boots to fill.
Yeah, I mean, you saw a post the other day of well, how many points they've
This
lost
is
in
what I was
this
going to come
Solway
to. Yeah,
team. Yeah, going into this season, and if you look at it, most of those goals would have, like you said, come from Dunbar assisting them, or the play going through Dunbar to go towards obviously bringing it forward, stuff like that. So Dunbar, both ends of the ice, is such a big loss for
Yeah,
Solway. Um, he's obviously been there from the start. He was their guy that they signed that sort of turned people's heads. He
yeah,
came into that team knowing what his role was, and I feel maybe now he's sort of they've been there for 2 seasons now, and he sort of felt like he can sort of take up another opportunity. I I doubt he'll go to the elite league again. Obviously, I think his elite league days are done, but it doesn't write him off going anywhere in the National League. Obviously, he can move around. He's an import. He's still an import, even though it feels like he's been around in the UK for a while now. Obviously, with Guildford and Glasgow as well, but he can move around wherever he wants. And there's teams in this league. Any team needs a Dunbar. And I'm sure he's got people always talking to him. I'm sure he's got contracts flying his way. So it'll be interesting to see where he lands. And obviously, it'll be interesting to see if he does land anywhere in the National League.
yeah. Well, Charlie, I put a tweet out. If I had to take a little guess, I said he would fit really well in Bristol. I think obviously his connection with Gardner, who was a sniper, a goal scorer, he put him on a tape for him, set him up so many times. They created a good partnership. Bricknell was at Bristol. And I think that is kind of a great complement player for them. But touching on what Dan said, um, they've lost Gardner, Dunbar, Alderson, and Callie Robertson now, and those four contributed to how many points was it? Like
399 or
three,
499.
300, 400
One.
points, which is a lot to try and replace, isn't it? And we'll get to one signing which is a really big one for them in D. But yeah, it is a big loss for Solway, I think.
Yeah, well, of course it is. John Dunbar and Gardner were the two guys who kind of carried them through a lot of games and got them through some rough patches. And yes, imports were easier to replace, but I don't know, someone like John Dunbar's not an easy guy to replace. You said he's got big feet to follow. I don't think his feet are too big, but he had a lot of assists. That is the crazy thing about Dunbar.
Charlie's jokes are terrible.
That was
But
bad.
no, I think it's a big loss, and whoever gets him, I think will be big. I'd love him at a place like Swindon. He'd be a massive import for MK, Leeds. There's every team could do with a John Dunbar, and I actually think he can do even more than he did at Solway. I think he's
Yeah.
a top guy, and yeah, I think it's a good. Wow, not good for Solway, but it's good for whoever gets him if he comes to our league.
Yeah. So we'll see where he goes. But Dan, they did announce the signing of Jake Bolton. And I've got to say, I'm very impressed with this signing. Now, he didn't play last season, but he spent a couple years in the Elite League with the Guildford Flames and the Glasgow Clan, where at Guildford he got 14 goals from defence, 17 assists to 31 points. And then at his full season in Glasgow, he got 7 goals, 10 assists, 17 points. So he's a point scoring D. He's offensive. I know Arsenu is quite an offensive D man as well, but he's a big boy. He's a very big boy. 6'2", 100 kg, 220 pounds. He's going to be a presence, isn't he? Every time on the ice. Power play, stick him on the blue line. He's going to be slap shotting it. I'm sure I've heard from a Guildford fan that he's got a very hard slap shot. So I like that from Solway. Obviously, I think him and Arsenu have kind of got to make the points up of a import forward, as there is 2D. But Arsenu got what, 40 odd points the last couple seasons. If Jake Bolton can get 40, 50 points as well, that's not too bad in covering that import forward slot, is it?
Yeah, so Bolton, he's obviously he can put the points up, but not Arsenal doesn't do this as much. But Jake Bolton's going to be able to throw the body.
Yeah.
He's still a physical D man as well, so they sort of they've switched up the sort of style of D with Bolton because he can obviously offer a bit more um than any other D really, in that they've got Kelby doesn't really throw the body, Stenton doesn't really throw the body, Arsenal doesn't throw the body, but
They've
Bolton will.
needed someone like this,
Yeah,
haven't they?
he can bulk up that decor, and I mean, you look at his signing video and stuff like that. He seems like he means business.
Don't want to mess with him.
Yeah, he's like a proper American. But he's going to come into this team, and you can see where they've gone with it. Obviously, you've got Josh Batch coming into this league now. You've got Bolton coming in. They sort of play the same way. They're both sort of that style of D. So you can see where they're going with it, Solway, and I think we said it on the pod last season that Solway had the big issue of not being able to hold leads and stuff like that in the game. Um, but with signing two import D men and the Brits that they've got, and obviously having Jordan Mar, sorry, behind them, obviously they're going to be able to hold leads as long as they can actually get them. They need to watch out for that now. They need to start signing some forwards that can actually get the goals and sort of say give them leads in a game, and then the D can obviously shut down the game like that.
Yeah, I think it's a great signing. And Charlie, that top 4D, Stenton, Bolton, LBT, Arsenu, and then you got Kerr as well. And I assume maybe Danskin will sign, or you get another D for that third pair. That is a very strong D core compared to previous seasons where they've just lacked that one player, like Dan was saying.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be relying on that decor to be their standout point, which gets them a playoff spot. If they do
Yeah.
get a playoff spot, that decor's got to be big.
Yeah, I agree. I think I don't mind that though, changing it up a bit, going a bit of a different style. You got that extra import now, so someone who has gone the complete opposite of that, though. And they have completed their import core already. It's the whole Seahawks. I think everyone kind of had a little inkling that Svek was going to come back. He is announced. They've got 4 import forwards. There's been a lot of chat online. We've had a couple chats with Matty Davies. He's going to come on the podcast for the whole Seahawks special to talk all about it, what team he's kind of put together. So we won't talk too much about it because we're going to have that. We're going to save all of that chat for the special. But Dan, 4 import forwards, Svek's back. Right, let's just quickly go through that team because you got Bobby Svek and Sobchak as the top line, which is probably the best point scoring line in the league. You've then got Stallard, Cornell, and Robertson, who you've just brought in. And then on a third line, you've got Hewitt, Bonner, and Bruton. That is just depth and a half. Then you've got here, who they've just brought in, pardon me, who is just forechecking, forechecking, forechecking. Jones, who come on, and then a new guy, we assume, or Kent. So the forward core is stacked. Dan, sorry.
Yeah, no. When you look at it, yeah, it's deadly. I've been saying to Charlie and stuff like that, if Hull can get on you early in a game and score a few early goals,
Yeah,
it's gonna be a long night.
yeah,
Because that's the
especially in
team.
their barn.
Yeah, that's the team that won't stop
No, no,
scoring.
no, 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 no,
You'll be
no,
hearing that
no.
in your sleep when you're coming home from Hull. You're gonna be hearing that all the way home. But I think the thing with that team is you've got that line of obviously Sobchak, Svek, Bobby, and they're all players. Obviously, Svek said it as well in podcast. He said that they just love scoring points. They were like going through the season, they were just talking about how many points that they've all produced and stuff like that. They won't ever stop. And with Matty, obviously, he knows exactly what, apart from Stallard and Hahir, he knows exactly what he's getting from his forwards. And he knows exactly how to coach them. He's not like he's coaching these new players, these new forwards, sort of showing them the NIHL game. They all know what they're doing, and they're all just going to be drilled into what Matty Davies wants. Obviously, there is the downside of the D. They might get caught out on that, but I think it's just the whole way to just go out and try and score more than the other team. And with that forward core, they definitely will.
Yeah. You mentioned to me, Charlie, and I actually asked Matty, and I don't think he'll mind me saying this, is you said it reminds me about a bit like Florida, their forward core in terms of you got a third and a fourth line who are just gonna come onto you, they're gonna get points, it's just gonna be relentless. They've got players who can rough it up, Bobby, Bonner, and then you've got those skilled kind of players, Sobchak. So it's going to be kind of that relentless forecheck, and the D men have to step up. Obviously, Matty trusts the D men he's got. He hopes that they can take a step up as well. You've obviously got Phillips, who was injury ridden last season. You've got to hope he can try and play 25 minutes to 30 minutes a night on that top pair. It is going to be tough. Yeah, go on, Charlie. What do you think of it? Just sum it
I
up, kind
I,
of.
I love what Matty Davies is doing. Why? Because I think it's so entertaining.
Yeah, it will
Oh
be.
my
Yeah.
days, he's made it fun. Like in a team which has already got Bobby Chamberlain, Hewitt, Bonner, Callie Robertson in their brick core, you've gone 4 import forwards. And I think that's brilliant. I think that's so entertaining for the league. And I think it will work or not doesn't matter. It's down to whether Hull can make it work. And what I think's interesting about Hull team, I completely can understand that they've got a top 9, which is probably the best top 9 I've seen in National League history. Makes sense
On
with
paper, on paper.
on paper, but yeah, it should be. Like it should. You got Jason Hewitt on a third line who got like 55 points last year. And what I think's interesting is it is easy to point at the D. And in my opinion, I probably would have gone and import D. But I think if you can get the forward core going back and forth and actually play 4 lines and go up and down the ice in a proper two-way manner, that will help out the decor like no man's business. When I
Yeah,
watch Florida, and it's easy to watch Florida and think, oh my days, because they are the best team on the planet. But when you watch Florida, their forwards help out their D so much. And
yeah,
if
they do.
Hull can help that and keep that going, it will take the pressure and the load off their their D men, but you cannot, when you're panicking in a game, go, all right, we're not playing our fourth line, we're going to roll three lines and we're going to play our top line more because it will just kill the team. So it's a risky play, but everyone can judge. But if Hull come out with silverware at the end of
Yeah,
it,
it's
fair
got to
play.
be coached well, and I think Matty's kind of had this style of play he wants to play, and he's gonna Dan. He has to hope the team buys into it because, as Charlie said, if maybe the D isn't quite as on paper solid as a lot of other teams who MK might go to import D, Leeds will probably go import D, Swindon will probably go import D. You've got to hope your Brit forwards will help those D core and their defense will almost be offense. So they'll keep the puck as long as the D men can get it to the forwards quickly. They can do their business. You got to hope Stallard can do the defensive work, kind of thing. I agree with Charlie. I'm sure Matty will talk about it a little bit more without giving away too much what he's going to be planning. But yeah, it is interesting, isn't it? As Charlie said, as a neutral who doesn't support Hull, flipping heck, it's going to be entertaining, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be entertaining. I'm sure the fans are loving it. Obviously, you've seen online they're loving it. It's almost like they knew that they were just going to go for import forwards. So I don't think anyone was sort of thinking about an import D in that team. Um, but obviously, with them being so highly offensive, you don't you don't want to run the risk of being caught out and sort of being found out about how you're sort of going about a game because then the team can obviously go against that. But at the same time, if they're just going to be relentless with their lines, like Charlie said, and properly run four lines, I think it'll be hard for teams to stop that. And I think just if it like you've both said, really, if you can get all the forwards chipping in on D and stuff like that, I think that covers for what import D man you could have got. Like I think that
Yeah.
covers for that, and I think McLaughlin's going to want a better year. Obviously, you got Zamostra back as well. They're going to be wanting to get a proper tandem back. I think it felt a bit last season like Zamostra was taking up too many games than he should have, really. I think they were hoping that McLaughlin was going to have a better year last year and he could eat up most of the games. But I think going into this season, they're obviously going to be working on that. And I think McLaughlin is going to be wanting most of the starts and he's going to be wanting to be improving.
A quote which will always stay with me is from Aaron now, and he said, "Every coach loves their team on paper before the season starts." Well, probably most coaches, but you sign your team, you love it. So I want to see it in when it happens. So we'll have to wait 2-3 months before we can start watching it, but it's going to be fun and entertaining. Right, let's move on to Telford. Not going to talk about him too much because we don't really know too much, but Henry Kovaka, he is going to be joining them, 6'2" D man. He's not really he's played abroad for a few seasons. So it's someone, Dan, again, a low risk. I think you said it, low risk could be high reward, but it's not really too much of a risk signing. And it could turn out to be a really good, like underrated piece of business. So yeah, it's a good little signing from Tom Watkins. I don't think we need to say anything else on that. So yeah, good luck to Henry. Brady Doxey, Charlie. Again, we know what to expect from him. Third, fourth line centre for Sheffield. It looks like they're building a lot of depth. But if you've got Brady Doxey on your fourth line, who can, again, he's a good two-way player. He'll chip in with points now and again. It's one of those guys who just keeps that kind of Sheffield DNA as well.
Yeah, Slav will use him well. He's a utility player who he's all right. Yeah, he's a decent PK guy as well.
Yeah, it's good PK. Telford Tigers confirmed the return of James Smith. I love James Smith. I think he's one of them guys. He's not the most technical of guys, although his goal in Bristol was pretty decent. The little toe drag past Napier to score. But he's back. He's really come on the last couple seasons. Solidified himself as a solid National League player. And again, he just dies for the badge. Will do anything for that Telford Tigers jersey. MK Lightning, they've signed Lewis Conroy, who looks like he's going to have a role this season on that fourth line. And he's come in 16 years old. He's played for the MK Storm. He's been one of the main guys in that team. One thing I like, Charlie, is he's a youngster through the MK system, which is really positive because that's something we've talked about. MK haven't really had too many players come through their system to then play in the national. This guy looks exciting and he's coming through the MK system, which is good for them.
Yeah, I like how they haven't just signed a fourth liner from another team and they've gone, we've got a young, talented kid in our system. Let's give him a shot. And I think one of the things which has happened for MK this year is when you often sign players from around the country, they do go back home at some point or travel further out, and they've lost quite a lot of their Brits. But having them Brits from the place Milton Keynes, where like Swindon have Brits from Swindon, they often stay for most of their career, if not all their career, and having them homegrown core guys just makes such a big difference. And you saw the core they had with Christie and Green and them guys, and I think if you can start to build Field and Conroy and build some of them guys up to start playing third, fourth, second, first line roles, then it will do them dividends. So I'd be excited to see him, and he scored a goal in the under 16s from his own zone. So yeah, I just don't quite know
So
what the keeper was doing, but it was a snipe either way. We'll give him that one.
absolute snipe. Overtime winner as well, by the way.
No comment.
Right, sorry, Dan, I'm not letting you speak again because
Right, mate.
Malazinski is back
Oh,
for the
Oh,
I think it's my
Wildcats.
time to go.
the best import
We
I've ever seen.
heard
No, I'll,
we
I'll take over this. Thomas Malazinski, best import I've ever seen, captain of Poland. But no, it's good. It's good to re-sign him for Swindon. We're good at signing imports, and we've signed the best one first. He's getting on in his career, so he has taken a step back. Um, and Some Hull fans were saying Owen Sobchat. I said he's the best player I've ever seen in the second tier of English ice hockey. So Owen Sobchat is not as good as Thomas Malazinski in his prime. Excited to watch him. I won't watch as many games this year, but each year of Malas, I enjoy watching, and I reckon he's going to have a step forward this year. I think there'll be a bit less pressure on his shoulders. I expect maybe 60, 70 points from Thomas, and a through the legs goal on Sam Gospel.
yeah, he's guaranteed more there. He gets him every time. Right, unbiased point of view now from me and Dan.
Well, I'm not
Yeah, I'm
biased.
really buzzing my lasses back. I think it doesn't seem right going into next season if we don't have Tomash in the team. It's not about the points with Tomash, it's all the other stuff he does. Two-way, PK, defensive. The stick lifts down are relentless. It must be so frustrating. You get the puck, you turn it over, and then Malas is on your back, just stick lifting you, getting the puck back. So I'm buzzing he's back. And as Charlie said, you don't have to rely on him nowadays because you've got these extra import forward slots who are going to be able to get a lot more points. And if you've got Malas doing all the defensive work and the two-way and those little underlying stuff, that's what you need him for. So yeah, well, good little signing for Swindon. Good first import signing.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping with Basingstoke gone for 2 years, I might not have to see him play against Basingstoke again. But I guess I am gonna have to
Oh, he
watch him
loved
play.
Basingstoke. He always played well against Basingstoke.
No, he didn't. He always he was always shut down in Basingstoke.
No,
But um, I think what we saw from Malas last year, obviously, when I was watching, um, I think the first half of the season he didn't actually want to shoot. He was just passing the puck. And I think that's what you can see from Malas, obviously taking that step back. He's not having to be the goal scorer in that team. He can just sort of play his own game. Like you said, he can play both ends of the ice. He's a really, really clever player. I don't think anyone can argue that. When he's along the boards, he's one of the best at keeping the puck and retrieving the puck. He always finds the right pass. He always links up with his play. The line that he's on, he always links up with anyone. And I think the thing with Swindon, obviously, he's been there for ages now, and the players around him have been there for ages too. So he's got no transition period. Like the players he's going to be with, he's been playing with for years. You might see him with a few different players this year,
Yeah.
seeing obviously what the lines are going to be looking like. The sort of in my head. But I've no doubt that Malas will be able to play his game, and he'll be obviously top quality once again.
Yeah, Tom Ash is back, and our first import we've signed. We've still got three more to go. Charlie, it is 10. Do you need to go?
Yeah,
There's
I'm gonna go on a walk. I gotta get my
yeah,
steps in. But
yeah,
peace out. Next week, a week today, we're filming on Saturday. Week today, I'm moving out, so
yeah.
a weird time for me. But yeah, still gonna
You're
travel
still
back to watch
you're
Malaga.
still yeah, you'll still try and come on the podcast now and again.
Yeah. So enjoy the rest of the podcast and any other announcements. MK's import's really good to give MK a compliment.
We'll get on to him in a minute. So Charlie is heading off for a long walk. Dan, Chris Fugalis has left the Leeds Knights, and didn't quite get the ice time, which I think a lot of us thought. Before last season, we thought, oh, it's an exciting little signing. And I think he showed glimpses of it. And then Bailey Perry was just playing too well, and he was kind of left as the seventh defenseman, wasn't he? But he had that fight against Romford in the final. All of his teammates loved him in Leeds. And he was still a great guy around the locker room and still played his part. But we might see him at another National League team. We'll have to see. But yeah, Chris Fugalis has left, and I think maybe in another team he'll get a bigger role. So we'll have to see where he goes if he stays in the national.
Yeah, I think it's it's tough for Fugalis. I think with any player like that, obviously coming into a team you've never played in this league before,
Yeah.
you're not going to be used as like one of those top guys. And when you're coming into a team like Leeds, you're either you're going to come off, hit the ground running, and really get those minutes under your belt, or if you don't, you're not going to be used. Like you're not going to get the ice time that sort of thought you would have got when you joined Leeds. But there's so many players in that team that you just can't be playing guys that aren't on form. You
Yeah.
have to play the guys that are on form because you are competing for trophies. You're competing for leagues. You're competing for everything every game. You're going in wanting to win silverware, and I think, like you said with Fugalis, maybe if he joined a different team, maybe if he joined, I don't know, say a Romford, maybe if he joined the Bees, like he could get that regular ice time and regular minutes and really sort of give himself a role in a team like that. But I think for Leeds, it's so hard to break into a team like that, and I think I I think he will be in the National League again. Um, but obviously, it'll be interesting to see where I'm sure there's a few teams that wouldn't mind a Fugalis in their D core. He's a Brit D, counts as a Brit. He's
Yeah.
played in this league before. He knows how the league works. So you're not going blind in on a Brit D. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to him. But like I said, Leeds is such a hard team to break into, and I don't think it. I think it was sort of right player, wrong time for Fugalis.
Yeah, I reckon he's going to sign for another team. We'll have to see. Mason Alderson has left the Solway Sharks. We did briefly mention it the other day, but he's gone to the Fife Flyers, Dan. Exciting for them. Another one who is kind of with Belfast, but Fife have got this exciting new ownership, exciting new coach who's come in who looks really good. And Alderson and Ben Brown got announced today as well. Obviously, we know him from MK. Them two are going to be two Brit forwards in that team. And I think Alderson, if he can stay fit, if he doesn't get injuries, he's going to be a nuisance in that league, isn't he? Oh my days. I'm not joking. That hit on Aaron Nell was one of the scariest hits I've seen at a live game. Aaron was on the goal line. Mason, it should have been a 5+ game. It should have been a 5+ game, shouldn't it, Dan? Bang, straight through him. Nell went flying into the boards. He can hit like a truck. And he's also one of the most skilled players in the league. He, in the same game,
Yeah,
he'd stick
I was gonna
handle
say
past
that.
someone, dangle Mar into the back of the net. So I think that game, Dan, which we've watched, kind of described him perfectly.
Yeah, yeah, and I think in the Elite League, obviously the fans are gonna appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
They're gonna love players like that. They can throw the body, that have got hands, and he's a guy that he's got an ego about him. He's another one that's got an ego. He knows what he can do, and he wants to
Dancing in
obviously,
warm ups.
yeah, he's got that aura about him that he knows he's sick. And with Alderson, he's played over in the States. He's played in obviously the Elite League before. Not many games, but he's played in there before. He came up in the Belfast system and stuff like that. like you were saying. But he's the guy that's going to be wanting to push himself to the highest standard he can.
Yeah.
And I think if he obviously he's got this opportunity from Fife, and he's not going to let this opportunity go to waste. He's going to be trying his hardest there for Fife, and I think you'll see a few more NIHL players sort of going up to Fife because I think what Fife have never had is they've never had that good brick core sort of system. They like last season, I remember they played a game and it was they didn't have a single Brit in the lineup. They literally lined up a full import roster. It's like they've never had that good brick core. So I think with these new owners, obviously, you know how important it is to have that brick core in the elite league. They're going to really want to start building that up. So a lot of these players in the National League that are obviously on the verge of going to the elite league, I think you might see a lot of them end up in Fife going forward.
Yeah, we'll have to see this season. They've still got four import slots, four Brit spots or three Brit spots left.
Yeah,
So,
something like that. Yeah.
right, on to a little one for Basingstoke. Roman Cathcart two-way with Streatham. Pretty good to see, Dan. I think you might, obviously, Basingstoke might have that kind of partnership with Streatham this season. Not an official one, but you might see a few players there. Roman's been in and around that Bison before, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So we actually saw his only goal last season, his first and only goal. We were commentating on it, and it was a pretty good snipe, to be fair. Um, pass. I think it was Ryder in goal.
Yeah, it would have been Ryder. Um, yeah, Roman's a really good young Brit forward. Um, what I've always said, he's not afraid to get involved in the boards. He's still 17, so he's still got a lot. But when he made his debut for Basingstoke, he was 16, and he wasn't afraid even then. So I'm really excited to see Roman. Obviously, when he gets opportunities to ice for the Bison, I'm excited to see how his game's evolved. Obviously, we saw him a bit in Bees, but I think you'll see a different Roman Cathcart playing for Basingstoke because that is his team. And he's going to obviously be like I've said before, he knows what it means to play for Basingstoke. And I think having that partnership with Streatham, obviously not partnership, but having Cathcart and Streatham as well to obviously play the majority of his games, he's going to be able to grow his game there
Yeah.
because he's on a top end team in the National One League. So I think he's going to be around that competitive environment. He's going to know what it feels like to be competing at a good level of National League hockey. And in the end, he could see himself get a full time contract in Basingstoke and be able to really have a good transition into national hockey and really sort of make an impact on that Bison team. And I'm excited to see what Jeff can do with him as well, because Jeff's had a history of obviously coaching young players. If you look through his CV, he's coached a lot of university teams. He's coached a lot of players around like the 03 range. So I think it's a big thing that obviously Jeff's going to be wanting those young players coming through because he's going to be wanting to coach them for the future.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see where his brother goes as well. We've said we think he's National League quality. Basingstoke seems like a team which would make sense for him. So hopefully Ty can get a contract somewhere, whether that's Bison or another team. Deacon Fielder, he's back again. He's your typical third line D pair. He's gonna hit you. He's gonna fight. He dropped the gloves of Tim Wallace. He does not care. He had an injury actually last season, didn't he? So that took him out for a bit of time, but he's back. And again, he's another one which you just expect to re-sign, don't you, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, Telfer's decor last season would have been good if they didn't get the injuries that they did. So they're going to be hoping that they have a sort of injury-free, if you could call it that, season for the D. But yeah, getting Deacon back for Telford, they know exactly what they're getting from him. He's a physical D man. He's going to be able to play good minutes when he's obviously fit. And like we say,
PK.
you know what you're getting with him. To be fair, you don't really have to talk much about him.
Yeah, two departures. And this rang a bit of an alarm bells here. Jarvis Hunt leaves Peterborough and Corey McEwen leaves MK. Hmm.
We're in the
Um,
NHL.
yeah, that could be interesting. See where both of them end up. But either way, both quite similar players. Jarvis Hunt obviously is considerably younger. McEwen's been in the league a lot longer. But both third line centers, who two-way both quite solid. Jarvis was obviously on the power play a bit last season, and we raved about Jarvis. I think he took a real big step last season under Slava. And yeah, wherever Jarvis goes, maybe it is Milton Keynes if he replaces McEwen. But yeah, it's a loss for Peterborough. But then if they get McEwen in what a lot of people are thinking, like it's just a like for like, isn't it? If it does happen, it might not happen, but it kind of is. Yeah, it's weird. They've both been announced at that time, and they're both centres, both third line centres. It makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is weird. This off season has been really weird.
Mate,
Like,
you're mad. We
yeah,
said it on that first podcast after the season, and flipping heck is completely blown what even we thought would happen.
yeah, like the moves that have been made, like I just didn't expect hardly any of them really. Sort of you'll hear different things every day and then they end up coming true and it's like I didn't expect that to happen. But yeah, I mean, I think Hunt could be a guy that could really work in that MK system. Obviously he can get in front of the net, he can play both ends of the ice, and I think if you slot him on that third line, I think he will make a bit more of an impact than McEwen did. I think just the way he plays, he's McEwen's not that sort of gritty guy that you'd find around the goal, whereas Hunt is. He can, if they were to go down that route, you can maybe put him on like the second power play unit, just getting in front of the goalie. He can tip the puck. He can score those greasy goals. So I think if it did go that way, I think Hunt is a good addition for MK if they're giving away Corey McEwen to Peterborough for it. I think that's a good little swap for in MK's favour, but also, like I said, I think Peterborough
Familiar face. Yeah.
could do with a McEwen. Like
Yeah.
it's so it sort of helps both teams out, but
Yeah.
obviously we don't know if it's going to go that way. But we're just
Does
speculating.
it is kind of pointing that way, isn't it?
Yeah, we're bringing trades into the National League next season. We're getting a
No,
draft pick and everything.
yeah. Couple signings for Leeds. Obviously, Harrison Walker is becoming a goalie in the national one, so he's taking that step down. But I think that's good for him in terms of getting that starter role. He's been the backup for a while, so Leeds have taken MK's two former goalies in Dan Norton and Ollie Booth. So they've got the Knights too. I think this is a great little move for both of them because one's going to back up with Leeds and one's going to play for Knights too. So I think it's a nice little healthy competition. Both young goalies, both got futures ahead of them, and they get to learn from Sam Gospel. So I think it's a no-brainer because you know Sam Gospel's probably going to play 95% of the games throughout the season. And I know Knights too want to try and build up their team as well, Dan. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything more to say on it.
I mean, they've literally just gone for a like for like system with obviously they had it with MK Thunder and MK Lightning. Now they've got it with the two Leeds teams. Like
Yeah,
you've got Ollie Booth and Norton there underneath Headley and MK, and now they're underneath Gospel. Like they're two of the top goalies in this league. Like then they're going to be learning off guys like that. And like I said, instead of having Curlin there, you've got a guy that can actually be a full-on starter, and then you've got obviously a starter in the full-on backup, and then you've got a starter in the Knights two team. Like
yeah,
you haven't got to jump over a curling to get a backup role
no,
because that backup role is already going to be there for you. So yeah, it's like you said, it's a no-brainer for them. I'm sure there's a few teams I would have liked him at Basingstoke as a backup. Obviously we're still looking for two goalies, but I wouldn't have mind one of them in Basingstoke. But like I say, for Leeds, that's a really good gain, and they can start building up their brick goalie core as well.
yeah. Now the big one, which Charlie mentioned, it was a good signing. Dom goodbye. Obviously B's not here this season, and that meant that Dom Goodbye was a free agent. If we're sticking with the NHL kind of theme, he's a free agent, and MK have nabbed him straight up. I'm sure there was a few teams probably interested in him, Dan. I definitely would have been if I was Swindon. I think again he is such a solid player. And he's not gonna have to play 35 minutes a game now, is he? He can play considerably less minutes. Top PP. He won't have as much pressure on him to get all the points. Although I do think he will score a lot of points. I think between 80 to 100 points, MK have needed a top forward who they can rely on They haven't had it really since Herman, have they? So I'm not saying he's going to be. I don't think he's quite the same profile as Herman, but he's still a goal scorer who's going to get you a lot of goals. And yeah, it just is a great signing. And I think it's a good signing for Gabai as well because he gets to play on a team which is competing. I think that's really positive for him because he's kind of been with a Bees team who have actually impressed in terms of they've done more than people expected of them. And he was a big part of that. And now he's going to be in a competing team, and that you might even see a different kind of Dom Gabai.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see it. I'm excited for Goodbye. I'm excited to see what he's going to be like in an MK team. This is something we've never seen before. But
Yeah,
also, I'm dreading it because I think we are going to see the best Goodbye that we've seen since he's come down into the National League.
I remember when he
I
first
think,
come in. Actually, he was.
yeah, I remember it very well. Yeah, he scored a hat trick against Basingstoke. Uh, yeah, I remember very well. But yeah, he's in the MK team. Like you said, he's not going to be getting played every other shift. He's going to be around players that are an unbelievable level. Obviously, no offense to Bees, they weren't obviously the higher ended players, but now he's going to be in an MK team that have got the high end players, and I think Goodbye is going to be able to use the players around him. He's unreal at holding the puck. He's going to be
Try
dangerous
and
in
get it
those
off him.
zones. Like he's got. If anyone plays NHL, he's got gold unstoppable force literally for the whole
Yeah.
game. Like he just holds the puck so well. Um, but I think he's a guy that can. You can put him in any situation in that MK team, and he'll be a good fit. Like he can play on the power play. He can play anywhere on the PK. He can play both ends of the ice. Obviously, he made that up partnership with Balaz, so you don't know how he's going to be without Balaz now. If Balaz, unless Balaz goes to MK as well. But I'm very surprised if he did. But like I said, it's the National League off season. You never know what's going to happen. But
I
yeah,
mean,
it's a really good move for Goodbye and a really good move for MK, and they should be really excited to see him play.
possible line mates. Oh, Jordan Cowney, that's not
Yeah.
bad. Oh, Sean Norris. Oh, that's not bad either. So he's gonna fit in straight away, I think. It'd be interesting to see though, Dan. One thing, I don't think it'll be a negative, but he's played a lot of years on the smaller ice pad in the Bees. So I know he's played away in MK a few times as well a season, but he'll have to adapt to maybe playing on that bigger rink week in week out because that will be his home rink. So he'll maybe adjust his game slightly, and that's why I think we might see a slightly different Dom Gabai. We'll have to see. But the more I talk about it, the more I just think, wow, it just
I
is a great
mean,
little
more
signing.
more space to shoot, more space to do everything.
Uh,
I think Goodbye's going to suit perfectly into that rink.
I think he had AMK power play struggled at points last season, didn't it? You've got Dom Gabai. He's just going to rip it from the corner from the circle. So yeah, it's a great little signing. And I don't mean this in a bad way. It's very safe as well in terms of you're not going out to an NCAA or a U Sports and signing a new guy who you don't really know what he's going to bring. Whereas Gabai, you know what he's going to bring.
No,
And go on.
and also, obviously, the league at the minute is going towards obviously a lot of American Canadian imports. They've
Yeah.
signed Forsberg, he's a Finn. Signed Goodbye, he's a Slovak. Obviously, they're going down the route of having these Euro imports again, and it's something that this league hasn't seen for a while. So you're going to have that European link as well. Obviously, they've still got two imports slots to fill. There's rumours that there could be another European there that could be joining
Yeah.
MK. Obviously, just rumours, but there is that in the air. So they could be going potentially with three European imports, and obviously we know what they're like. We back in EPL days, the European imports were the way to go. So that's going to be interesting to see for MK as well.
Yeah. On to another European import. Yanni Lackinen returns. I didn't know if he'd do another season. But he was the top. He got the most assists last season. Dan, I'm just getting up his profile now. So, Yanni Lackinen, 43 years old. He doesn't play like he's 43 though. He is very smooth. He'll put it on Ferrara's tape. 75 assists of his 88 points. That is just ridiculous. So that top line, if they want to play it, Dan, they can play it now. You've got Ferrara, Huff, and Lakanen. Obviously, Tate's the new coach. You get that extra import. We assume it will probably be a forward. So maybe you have that forward run the second line, which is maybe what they missed a little bit last season, Dan, on some depth scoring. But yeah, Yanni Lakanen's back. He's doing another year, and yeah, that top line was deadly last season.
Yeah, I mean, he loved playing with Ferrara so much again that he just wanted to carry on. And I think it's sort of, I think he sort of, I don't know, playing in Peterborough, I think he just loved it last year. You could tell the way he was playing. Like he never looked like he was annoyed. He never looked like he was angry. He just looked chilled out. Obviously, he's played all over the country. He's played in all different scenarios, I'm sure. And he's a guy I think, like we've said before, you get the best Ferrara out of playing him with Lakanen.
Yeah.
Obviously, having him with a player like that is only going to bring good things. And I think Tate will like Lakanen. I think that's the sort of import Tate likes. Obviously, we're in
Oh, that's it,
Basingstoke.
Dad.
So I've said it. He's obviously he likes a shooter and then he likes a sort of two-way guy, playmaker. Obviously, he had it in
Off
Basingstoke.
Lakanen. You
Yeah.
did
So
mention this when Tate come in, actually,
yeah, I probably did.
that he likes one shooter, one playmaker, and you've got Huff and Lakanen back now.
Yeah, so
So
he's got those imports that he wants. So it'll be interesting to see what he goes with for the other import slot that they've got. So, but I think Tate's gonna really like Lachlan.
yeah. So Peterborough have one more import slot remaining. Bobby Reagan's back. He's only 18 years old. He did play quite a few games last season, but he'll be looking to try and take a step up. And yeah, whether that's the fourth line, third line. Obviously, Elliot Lewis has gone down, so maybe Bobby will look to try and fit that spot. So we'll see what happens with him. He's still so young. And then one signing which I really like, and I might put a little. You know what? I'm gonna spoil it. Tom Byrne is back for the Telford Tigers, and he right now I'm saying it. He's my ones to watch. He's going as my ones to watch no matter what. And I thought he was quite good at the end of last season, Dan. He got 4 points in the playoffs in those six playoff games, four in his last five. And he was one which, sorry, I'm just getting his, sorry, I'm just trying to get his elite prospects, but I'm tapping the wrong buttons here. He was someone who Mackenzie said last season, before last season, that he's someone who Tom Watkins is looking out for and someone who can progress quite well. And last season, I think he made a step, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. We always sort of we always seem to watch him score goals. And whenever we went to
I
Telford, he
know.
always seemed to score. Whenever he obviously when we were in Swindon, he always seemed to score. Um, so I think, yeah, I mean, he's only going to keep getting better, and the forwards that they've signed already, he's only going to be able to sort of get better on that on playing a sort of he can play any sort of role, but sort of you've got that top line set now. Potentially, he could go onto a second line. If not, you
I
got that third line,
I
which
think he could possibly be on the third line because Newell's going back to forward, isn't he? So you've got
yeah,
Newell, Tom Byrne, and you could even have Scott McKenzie as that
yeah,
centre
that would
then.
work
So
really nicely
that
with
would
Scott
be a really
McKenzie with
nice
them.
little third line.
Yeah, so obviously you've got so many options for him, and having the season that he had last year, he's only going to be going into the season confident. And I really like the way Telford are sort of building their team at the minute. I think they're looking like a not much of a dark horse, but they're a team that not many people are talking about. They're just sort of they've made some big signings. Now they're sort of going through those re-signings that every team has, like the ones that are sort of you knew they would come in, but they're slowly just building that roster. When you look at it, there's line combinations that they can make is very very interesting, and I think
Yeah.
I think this Telford team is looking really good going into next season already.
Yeah, it's looking much depthier. You'd assume they go that import D man as well, which gives them a bit more depth in defence. You've got Norton Day. I like the Telford team. They're not going to have as poor season as they did last year. I actually think they ended the season quite strong,
Yeah.
but they're going to have an improved season, I think. And that playoff battle is going to be so good. So yeah, Tom Byrne is back. Last couple signings then, which I've got. Well, what? Sorry, we've got one more sign in, and then we've got two players are leaving. So we'll start with the two which are leaving. Callum McGill is not returning, and James Spur as well is not returning to the whole Seahawks. So yeah, that is two Brit spots kind of to fill. Obviously, they've got. I think they've got four D men signed up at the moment, Dan, or three D men signed up. So they'll be looking to get a Matty who have a few more to bring in. And then you've obviously got the depthy forwards. And I think they've kind of covered James Spur with the signing of Robertson, because you can then move Hewitt down, can't you? The depth is just crazy.
Yeah, they've definitely covered the forwards. We know that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's only the D sort of left to sign now for Hull. They've
Yeah.
sort of probably got about two forwards left, and then all the rest are going to be D. So it'll be interesting to see how they build their D. Obviously, you had young Cohen Taylor got a few games for Hull last season.
Yeah.
Might see him get another role in that whole team. See if he can get a sort of on that third pair. He can grow his game that way. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Hull go with it. But personally, I quite like McGill, and I'd be interested to see if he lands up anywhere in the National League. I think he's a guy that can fit on any team's decor, really. I think he's just a guy that'll block shots. He'll put everything in front behind pucks. So yeah, I'm interested to see where he ends up.
Just looking through it, there was one I missed earlier, and that was Joe Tomlin. He's back
Mm.
for the Romford Raiders. So yeah, he's back. He's going to be hoping to take another step forward this season. So yeah, Joe Tomlin is back for the Raiders. And the final one I've got, which was announced today, so good timing on the podcast, is their new import forward, Stewart. Now let's just quickly get his what's his name, Dan? Something Stewart.
Dylan, is it? Dylan?
Dylan Stewart. Sorry, I've not prepared for this whatsoever. So
It's not
his
Liam
name,
Stewart. I
no,
know
it's not. A lot of people thought it might have
that.
been. His name is Dylan Stewart. You are right,
There we
Dan.
go.
And he's not your typical U Sports like player who's come through the U Sports. He's come through a different way. He's 28 years old, 6'2" centre, Dan, and he played in the same league as Cole Cece, who was netminder in that league, and he did quite Stewart did quite well in this league. He got 45 points in 48 games in his first season, and then 27 in 39. And then when he went to the France 2 League, which I think Roberts went to for a bit, didn't he? He
Yeah,
got a point
he
per
was
game in
around
that
there.
as well. So I think he's going to kind of be that top line centre. I'm going to assume we'll have to see who their other import is, who's going to do the two-way business again. Defensively, you've got to be solid, Dan. And then he's also going to chip in with the points. I don't know if he'll be able to chip in with as much goals as Gardner. That is a lot of goals to try and score. Obviously, Gardner got 50 plus goals, but two-way, it looks like, as we said, Solway, they're trying a different dynamic this season in terms of defense first. If you concede a lot less goals, you can then win games 3-2 or 4-2 or 5-3, which I think they're going to try and change it up a little bit to get that playoff spot. They've got to change something, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, this is it. We talked about earlier on the pod, like they've got that 399 points, whatever it is, to make up. Um, let's be honest, I don't think Solway are making that up, to be fair. With the players that are
Yeah,
available, the Brits that are there, I don't think you are making that up. But I think Solway are going to be looking at, like you said, if they can concede two or three less goals a game,
yeah,
you don't have to have that point reduction from forwards. Like it takes the pressure off the forwards. They can go into games and they can score three goals and they can see out a game in that way. They don't need to be getting these score lines of 6-5, 7-5 like Hull are going to be getting next year. Um, you can obviously you can see out games, and I think that's how Solway are looking at it. They're like, fair enough, we've lost these forwards, but let's really tighten up on the defense. Let's really sort of make it hard for teams to score, and then you don't have to have this point reduction from these forwards like we've had for the past 2 years. They can really sort of play a lot more neutral game, and they can sort of really lock it down. They can really finish out games and get those crucial wins as well.
yeah. It's one of them. We're just guessing. We haven't seen this guy. We don't know too much about this guy apart from the stats we see on the elite prospects. So he might come into the league and he might take the league by storm and score 100 points. You just don't know. But if I had to take a guess, I reckon he'd be an 80, 70, 80 point guy, maybe that centre, reliable two-way centre who's going to PK, power play, and just set the team by example. So, yeah, it looks like a solid little signing. We'll have to see. It's a different type of signing compared to a lot of players who come through U Sports. He's actually born in Edmonton, up the Edmonton.
Oh,
He's going to have
is
that
that going to be
Canadian.
a one to watch now? Is it?
What just because of that? But we'll have to see what he's like. Dan, any other signings I've missed? I don't think
um,
so.
I'm not going to sign in, but I just wanted to sort of touch on the Bison Academy a
Oh
little
yeah,
bit.
oh yeah. That's the news which we forgot.
Um, so sort of Bison are introducing a Bison Academy next year, and then sort of in the future they're hoping to get a Bison twos team, you could call it. There's been a few things online. People are talking about obviously what does this mean for Buffaloes and stuff like that. Obviously, no one actually knows. I put a little post out on the Facebook group saying that maybe they're just taking over the Buffalo. I'm just assuming that. But I think this is good for Basingstoke. Obviously, they're having to build up their junior system again. Obviously, it being out for 2 years, a lot of these young players have moved about. They've moved away for hockey, and they've sort of, when you're young, you don't want to keep moving around. You get settled in one place, and that's it. And I think Basingstoke, this is big for them if they can really build that hockey community back up again that they had in Basingstoke. Obviously, we spoke about it before. Obviously, Swindon have had all these players come up, that youth system. You've got these players that are going to stick around. In Basingstoke, the amount of Buffalo players that we've had come up. Obviously, we had Hallam Wilson that's still there now. We've had Paul Petts before. Obviously, you've had all these players come up, and I think if you can have this Bison Academy really clicking, and sort of after a few years, you'll start to see these players sort of having that clear pathway up into the Bison national team. I think it's only going to be good things. And like I've said about Jeffy's, he's got history with coaching these young players. He said he's going to be involved in that Bison Academy as well. So being coached by obviously a National League coach of that standard is only going to be good for these young kids, and he can really create a good pathway for youngsters coming up into Basingstoke.
Yeah, I think quite a few teams have got kind of their pathways now. You got Swindon 2, you got Solway SNL team now, Solway Sharks SNL, Sheffield obviously, MK Leeds. So yeah, quite a few. Romford with the Bucks. We could Peterborough 2s, Telford 2s have come up
Mm.
now. So I think
Knights twos.
yeah, you're kind of following suit with a lot of teams. And yeah, you want to build it back up in Basingstoke to what they had. I think that's pretty much it. We'll try and get a couple interviews. The only thing is, a lot of the players, this is their time. They're going on holidays now. So
Yeah.
when I message a lot of them to see if they can come on, they're out or, partying or abroad with their family or partners. So we'll get the one when we can. I'll drop a few messages out there. But we hope you've enjoyed this episode. Bit of a long one of us just talking, but there was quite a lot of transfers. So or signings, if you want to call it that. So, yeah, a couple months to go until pre-season, or 2 or 3 months. So yeah, we'll see you in the next one, whenever that is. Follow our socials at Macca's Talk Hockey. Peace.